Most days, you'll find me at the grocery store in Maplewood, Ohio, bagging groceries, wrangling carts, or standing behind the specialty counter, sliding packs of cigarettes across to customers. Nothing about it screams excitement, but it gives me something better than thrills: a front row view of every kind of woman who walks through those doors. Tall, short, glamorous, careless, young, old. I study them all. Every gesture, every shade of lipstick, every flick of hair becomes part of the secret archive I've been building for years. When the shift ends, I'm not just me. There's another side, one I've hidden all my life. I've been dressing as a girl for as long as I can remember, and if my father had ever found out, he would have beaten it out of me without a second thought. But that danger is gone. One night, drunk and brawling at his favorite bar, he picked the wrong fight. 2 bullets later, he was sprawled lifeless on the floor before the cops even arrived. No one in our house shed tears. Whatever love had once bound my parents had dried up years earlier, leaving nothing but silence and the occasional storm. So it was just Mom and me after that. And at 18, all I really carried from my father was my height. At a meager 5'5", I was a good half-foot below most of my classmates, boys and girls alike. With my strawberry blonde hair brushing my shoulders, I could pull it back with a headband and, in the mirror, almost pass. My makeup skills were shaky at best, my clothes a sparse collection stashed away in a gray box beneath my bed. Mom was too tall and broad-shouldered for me to borrow her wardrobe, though sometimes I slipped on her jewelry, rings that swallowed my fingers whole. I suspected she knew, but she never spoke of it, never dared. Not with him around. Until one evening, about 3 weeks after the funeral. She stood in the doorway, calm, casual, but her words made my stomach plummet. "Now that your father is gone, why don't you let me meet that girl who stops by sometimes?" "What girl?" I tried to laugh, but my throat went dry. "The one hiding under your bed, the one in the gray box." Fear shot through me, thick and bitter. I opened my mouth, closed it again, then finally whispered, "You'll laugh." Her voice softened. "I promise I won't. Go change. Let me meet her." The silence stretched, her gaze steady, until I forced myself to move. My heart thrashed in my chest as I slipped into my room and pulled out the clothes. An hour later, trembling, I stepped back into the living room. Navy skirt brushing my knees. Pink blouse tucked neatly in. Low heels that wobbled under my weight. My hair tied into a ponytail, my face painted as carefully as I could manage. I'd stuffed my bra with birdseed to create the hint of a bust. Mom's eyes swept me from head to toe. She didn't laugh. Instead, she smiled. "You look very pretty. With just a little help, you could be even better. May I?" The relief nearly floored me. I nodded. Within minutes, I was perched on a kitchen chair while she brushed and shaped my hair, adjusted my makeup with a steady hand. When I finally looked in the mirror, I hardly recognized myself. Not just a costume me, a girl I had always chased but never quite caught. "There," she said, satisfied. "That's better. Now tell me, what do I call you? You must have chosen a name by now." I swallowed hard, then let it out. "Ava." She smiled like she'd been waiting to hear it all along. Then she leaned in. "Would you like to go shopping? A few skirts, blouses, maybe shoes, makeup that actually suits you?" The thought made my chest ache with want, but fear clamped me still. I'd never gone out like this, never shown the world. I must have looked terrified because Mom touched my arm gently, then rose. "Stay here," she said. "Let me change, and we'll go together." When she returned, her own makeup done and keys in her hand, I realized for the first time that maybe I wouldn't have to hide anymore. Without a word, Mom slipped her hand into mine, and suddenly I was stepping outside as Ava for the very first time. The air felt heavier, sharper, like it could cut me open if I breathed too deeply. My nerves spiked so hard I nearly bolted for the car. Mom only chuckled softly, telling me there was no reason to panic, that no one would suspect unless I gave them a reason. I nodded, promising to try to relax, though my body was tight as a spring. The ride to the store blurred past, and before I could second-guess myself, I was inside under the fluorescent lights. Every second felt like walking a tightrope, convinced someone would point, shout, expose me. But nothing happened. Instead, Mom filled the cart with 3 skirts, a dress, 2 pairs of shoes, a new bra, pantyhose, a slip, a nightgown, and a small arsenal of makeup. By the time we got back to the car, my chest was buzzing with nerves and adrenaline. "That wasn't so bad, was it?" Mom asked, eyes glittering. "Mom, I'm 18. I'm a boy. And you just marched me into a store dressed like a girl." "Yes," she said simply. "And how many people knew you were a boy?" The answer was obvious. None. I wanted to laugh with relief, to admit how incredible that felt, but pride and fear held me quiet. Instead, I shoved the new clothes into my closet, heart pounding at the thought of trying them all on later. Mom never told me to change back, so I stayed Ava for the rest of the day, savoring every second. The next morning, though, reality pulled me back into my jeans and work shirt. I caught myself staring at the closet, dresses swaying like a taunt, before trudging off for a 10-hour shift. Because one of the girls had quit without warning, I was thrown into her department for the day. Cosmetics. The air was thick with perfume and powders, 100 tiny temptations pulling at me. By Monday, with school winding down to half-days, I found out the arrangement wasn't temporary. Mr. Baker, my manager, told me the girl had left for good and that I was now permanently assigned to cosmetics. He clapped me on the back, said I clearly had a sense of what women want, pointing to the jump in sales. I forced a smile and took my place at the counter, equal parts thrilled and terrified. By Wednesday, I'd fallen into a rhythm stocking lipsticks, matching blushes, guiding nervous women to the right shade of foundation. I was almost comfortable when Mrs. Baker herself, the owner, approached me. She was elegant, 10 years older than Mom, but carrying herself like someone who'd mastered time. "Evan, can we talk?" she asked smoothly. "Sure, Mrs. Baker. What's going on?" She lowered her voice, watching me closely. "Two ladies have raised concerns. Not about your work, you're excellent, but about the fact that you're a young man at the cosmetics counter. One even said you convinced her to buy a better shade for her complexion, and that unsettled her." I swallowed, panic pricking at my skin. She knew I was good. Too good. She must be wondering how I understood this world so well. I considered lying, blaming the fashion magazines I flipped through during slow hours, but something in her eyes stopped me. "Evan," she said finally, "let me be plain. You know too much about this counter, about makeup, about how girls your age dress. You could pass as one yourself. If you worked here as a girl, no one would question it. I'll even change the work records, make it official, that a girl is assigned here." My breath caught. You want me to come in as a girl? Are you serious? That's crazy." "Is it?" she countered. "I was in the store the other day. I saw a cute girl shopping with your mother. That was you, wasn't it? Don't bother denying it." The floor dropped out from under me. "If you start tomorrow as that girl," she continued, voice firm, "everyone will believe you're a new hire. No questions asked. But Mrs. Baker, everyone in town shops here. Someone will figure it out eventually. What happens to me then? What happens to you?" She shook her head with quiet confidence. "No one will recognize you, not if you do it right." "You did," I whispered. Her lips curved into a knowing smile. "No, I said I saw a girl with your mother. The rest I guessed. And now, Evan, you've confirmed it." Her words hit like a trap snapping shut. I'd walked right into it. Too stunned to answer, I let her leave while my thoughts spun in every direction. She wanted me to pull this off, to live it out, to become Ava in front of the whole town. But how? I wasn't graceful. I wasn't even that pretty. My heels wobbled, my hands shook, and all I could think was, how could I possibly survive this without falling apart? I wanted to say no, to slam the door on the idea and never look back. But every excuse I whispered to myself was a lie. The truth burned in my chest. I wanted to do it. I wanted to step into that store, as Ava, stand behind the counter, and see if the world would believe me. What held me back wasn't doubt, it was fear. Fear of being caught, of being recognized, of everything crashing down around me. Still, Mrs. Baker had made it clear. Either I showed up as the girl she'd seen with Mom, or I was out. A raise from $8 to $10 an hour wasn't trivial, especially for me. That kind of money was a fortune. More than the temptation of cash, though, it was the pull of finally living it every day. Not just behind locked doors. But it meant telling Mom. I couldn't hide something like this from her. Mrs. Baker's parting words were crisp, leaving no room for argument. 9 o'clock, first day after school let out, her office. Not a suggestion, an order. She knew I'd come, too. I could see it in her eyes. The rest of the day dragged in a haze of perfume and lipstick, every bottle and brush whispering to me, while my mind knotted itself into chaos. I wanted to run home and pull on a skirt. I wanted to forget the whole thing. I wanted both, and neither. But underneath the confusion was a certainty I couldn't shake. I was going to report as Ava. The only question left was what her son would do. He had a reputation. He flirted with every woman who worked there, wore them down until most hated him. If he turned his attention on me, and if I said no, what then? Worse, what if he already knew the truth? Surely his mother wouldn't keep it from him. By the time I got home, I was frayed to pieces. At dinner, I told Mom everything. I half expected her to put her foot down, call Mrs. Baker, and forbid it. Instead, she listened in silence, her face unreadable. For a long moment, she didn't say a word. Then, quietly, she said, "Okay, I'll go along with this for now, but you'll have to let me help you become the perfect little girl." Mom! All right, the perfect teenage girl, she amended with a sly smile. The money is excellent, and let's be honest, you've been dressing as a girl often enough that this isn't exactly foreign territory. Think of it as a chance to experience what it's really like. And besides, she leaned in, her eyes softening, you're very cute, you know. The words hit me like a wave. I wanted to believe her, wanted to let it fill the aching space in my chest. But panic clawed at me too. Everyone we know shops there, Mom. If even one person figures it out, it's over. For me, for us. Then we'll make sure they don't, she said calmly. Any doubt they have, we'll erase. I frowned. How? I'll think about it. Just come straight home after school tomorrow. We'll see how pretty we can make you. I won't force you, but if you want this, I'll help. Her words left me dangling between dread and relief. I had hoped she'd order me into it, so I could hide behind her decision, claim I had no choice. But she didn't. She handed me the power, and that terrified me. If I said yes, I was admitting to both of us what I had always secretly known. She watched me closely, her clear blue eyes waiting, daring me to say it. And I did. Okay, Mom, but I don't want to look strange. Her smile widened. Strange? No. When I'm done with you, you'll be a doll. Don't worry, I don't want a tart for a daughter any more than you do. That night, I couldn't stand the waiting. I stripped down, inspecting every inch of myself in the mirror. Too much hair. Too many reminders of what I wasn't. I filled the tub with steaming water, poured in bubble bath, and lowered myself into the heat. Razor in hand, I shaved until the water was cloudy and cold, until my skin was slick and smooth as silk. When I finally climbed out, lotion sank into my bare skin, and for the first time, I looked less like a boy pretending and more like a blank canvas. I slid into bed, heart racing, staring into the dark. Tomorrow would change everything. The last day of school drifted past in a blur, Nothing accomplished, nothing remembered. By the time I got home, it wasn't even 11. The house was quiet, empty, so I made myself a sandwich and flipped on the news, nerves chewing through me while I waited for Mom. When her car finally pulled into the drive, I killed the TV and sat in the kitchen, heart hammering. She walked in carrying several bags, her smile wide, her eyes sparkling with mischief. "I bought you a few things to make this easier," she said. "Let's go to your room and see how everything fits." I stripped down to my shorts as she unpacked the first bag. What she pulled out made my mouth fall open. A pair of breast forms, smooth, realistic, the color almost perfect. "These were your grandmother's," Mom explained softly. "She used them after her mastectomy. She was small-breasted, so they should fit you just right. When she passed, they went into storage. I found them, then bought the adhesive to keep them in place." She had me stand still as she marked my chest, applied the glue, and carefully pressed each form against my skin. When she stepped back, I had a chest that felt astonishingly real. I stared down in wonder, my breath caught. "You'll have to figure out the rest, Ava," Mom said with a smile. "But I know you can. Now let's get you dressed." She handed me plain white panties, full cut, simple but soft. Once I slipped them on, she guided me to her vanity, where a neat array of brand new makeup waited. "Go ahead, show me what you've learned, don't overdo it." With shaking hands, I applied foundation, powdered my face, smoothed the blotchiness away. Soft green pencil under my eyes, brown liner on top. The blush was peach lighter than what I'd used before, but it brightened my cheeks, brought out warmth I hadn't seen before. Mom's approving nod gave me confidence. She set my hair in rollers, pulled a plastic cap over them, and while we waited, handed me another surprise small oval pads. "Slip these under your panties," she instructed. "They'll round you out where it counts." I obeyed, adjusting them until my shape looked fuller. Pantyhose followed, hugging the pads into place. Then came a pleated pink skirt, a crisp white blouse with a round collar, and simple white flats. The girl in the mirror was taking shape, though the cap still spoiled the illusion. Mom removed the rollers, brushing my hair into a sleek bob, short and neat, the kind of style girls my age wore to school. My reflection shifted, sharpened. I picked up a tube of reddish-pink lipstick and traced it over my lips. The Cupid's bow that never appeared on my male face bloomed instantly, softening me in ways I hadn't thought possible. Mom pressed a necklace into my hand, fastening the delicate chain around my neck. Then she offered earrings, tiny gold studs. My heart jumped. "But I don't—" She was already reaching for an ice cube and a needle. A sharp sting later, both lobes carried the weight of new jewelry. When I looked again, the transformation was complete. Breasts rising with every breath, hair shining, lips painted, legs smooth and long, beneath the skirt, every trace of the boy was gone. A girl stood there instead, bright-eyed, smiling back at me, with a thrill I couldn't contain. She wasn't some costume. She was real. She was me. "Ava," Mom said, tugging my arm, snapping me from my trance. "What?" I breathed, dazed. "All you have are the skirts and dresses we picked up last week. That's your only bra. If you're going to keep this up, we'll need to go to the mall and stock up properly." One last look at the mirror settled it. The girl in the reflection was alive. She was beautiful, and she was finally free. I turned to Mom, nodded once, and whispered, "Yes." The name Ava wasn't just a word anymore. It was the truth staring back at me, radiant and undeniable. Within half an hour, we were pulling into the mall parking lot, my first time stepping into that world as a girl. To my surprise, I wasn't a bundle of nerves, edgy, yes, but not trembling. I walked with a quiet confidence that came from knowing I looked every bit the 18-year-old girl I claimed to be. The breasts, the hips, the hair, the clothes, all of it lined up perfectly with the girl I had always imagined. And for once, the will to live her life steadied me. I knew next to nothing about sizing, But Mom was in her element. She guided me straight into a lingerie shop, and before long, I learned my numbers. 34A bra, size 6 panties, size 8 dress, size 7 shoes. Perfect sizes, Mom said approvingly. And with that, she began teaching me the delicate art of buying lingerie. She explained which bras I'd need plain ones for every day, fun padded or underwire for when I wanted them. We stocked up on panties, slips, a handful of skirts, a couple of dresses, sweaters, slacks, jeans, and tops. The bags grew heavy until my arms ached, so we stashed them in the car before diving back in for shoes, cheap jewelry, hair products, and, finally, a makeover by a professional. Mom bought everything the stylist used on me, right down to the brushes. By the time we drove home, the adrenaline that had carried me all day started to ebb, leaving me shaky. Doubt crept in like a shadow. I thought. I can't pull this off. But once I was back in my room, surrounded by the safety of home, Mom nudged me to try on everything. Alone, I slipped into outfit after outfit, feeling the thrill of each transformation. A padded bra gave me cleavage for the first time, and when I stared at my reflection, I had to touch my chest to believe it. I ended the little fashion show in a pair of new jeans, sandals, and a pink top, then padded into the kitchen. Mom looked me over, her eyes sharp. "Your hips look a little fuller." "I moved the pads around," I admitted. "Added the extra ones you had." She nodded, satisfied. Then her expression turned serious. "Are you just planning to show up for work tomorrow? Maybe you should go see Mrs. Baker today. That way, she'll be ready for you." The thought made my stomach flip, but she was right. Better to get it over with. I grabbed my purse and set out. Passing a few neighborhood kids nearly stopped me cold, but they didn't so much as blink. 3 blocks later, I was standing outside the store, gathering my courage, before finally walking in. Mrs. Baker was heading into her office when I caught up. I knocked softly, and she turned, her eyes flicking to me without a trace of recognition. "Yes, dear. Can I help you?" "My name is Ava. You told me to report tomorrow, but I thought I'd come by today so we could meet." Her eyes widened. "Oh my God! Is that you?" "Yes, ma'am." She let out a laugh of disbelief. "I knew you'd be cute, but you're more than that. You look fantastic." Heat rushed to my cheeks. "Thank you. You mentioned something about paperwork?" She bustled to her desk, and for the next half hour, I filled out forms. Everything was true except my name. Evan became Ava. When it was finished, she handed me an ID badge stamped with my new identity. "Be here at opening tomorrow." I hesitated, then asked, "What about your son?" Her lips tightened. "Don't worry about him." Then she stood, took me by the hand, and led me out to meet the staff. That part was torture. I'd worked with these people for 2 years, yet here I was, smiling and shaking hands as though we were strangers. Every time I braced for recognition, for some knowing smirk, but it never came. Instead, one by one, they greeted me warmly, and slowly my panic eased. Until, that is, I reached the bag boys. They were all classmates of mine, and 2 of them looked me up and down with that unmistakable teenage interest. My heart thudded. If they suspected, they gave no sign. Back in the office, Mrs. Baker was all business again. "Wear a skirt and top tomorrow, Ava. Something nice and feminine. I want you at the cosmetics counter, helping us grow that department. The drugstores are beating us badly, but with someone like you to guide the customers, we'll have the edge. See you at 9. I left the store floating somewhere between elation and dread. I'd done it. I'd walked through the day as Ava, met everyone, and not a single soul had recognized me. The lie that had always felt so fragile suddenly seemed stronger than I'd ever dreamed. Still, I knew the truth. One slip, one wrong step, and everything could come crashing down. But as I walked home, the late sun warm on my shoulders, for the first time I believed I might actually pull it off. Ava wasn't just a disguise anymore, she was real. And tomorrow, she was going to work. The sun was warm on my face, the The sky stretched blue and endless, and for the first time in my life, I felt like I was walking in step with who I really was. Lipstick clung faintly to my lips. Perfume hovered around me like a secret I carried, and I was so lost in my own thoughts that I didn't notice Jake until his voice broke through. Hi! I spun, startled, and there he was, Jake. Tall, grinning, confident as ever. Hi! I managed, heart kicking up a storm. You're the new girl at the cosmetics counter, right? My name's Jake. Ava, I said quickly, smoothing my tone. Mrs. Baker thought I could handle it, so she asked me to try. Can I walk you home, Ava? Every alarm in my body went off. Jake knew me. Well, sort of. We'd gone to school together for years. We weren't close, but still, what if he looked too hard, listened too carefully? What if he saw through me? Yet I couldn't bring myself to say no. My head dipped in a tiny nod, and suddenly we were walking side by side. It was surreal. He spoke to me as if I were simply a girl, and for the first time, I heard what that sounded like. It was nice. Too nice. My chest fluttered at the sound of my name in his voice. Jake was tall, good-looking, the kind of boy who turned heads, and worse, I felt a spark of excitement that he wanted to be seen walking next to me. That realization sent me spiraling. What did it mean about me? He left me at my front door with a casual promise to see me at work tomorrow. I stood there after he walked away, fingers tingling with the urge to grab his hand before he slipped out of reach. The message was clear: he thought I was cute. And if Jake thought that, other boys would too. Which meant sooner or later, one of them would ask me out. The thought made me dizzy. On one hand, it meant I had truly passed that I wasn't just dressing the part, I was living it. On the other, the idea of actually dating a boy made me reel. Could I handle that? Could I even say no enough times without raising suspicion? I fled to my room, sat in front of the mirror, and searched for answers in the reflection. Ava stared back at me, brushing her hair, smoothing her lipstick. She looked ready, but I wasn't sure if I was. Changing into shorts and a tee, I tried to shake it off, busying myself with setting the table and cooking dinner. When Mom came home, I had food waiting. We ate in comfortable silence, until she dropped the bomb like it was nothing. I saw Mrs. Baker today, she said casually. She's very impressed with you. That alone was a relief. But before I could ask her what it meant for tomorrow, she added, she also told me she saw a boy named Jake walking you home. Is that true? My fork froze midair. With a sigh, I nodded. Mom's face lit up like she'd just won a bet. What did I tell you? I told you you're cute enough to have boys chasing after you, and I was right. Mom, I groaned. I'm a boy. Remember? Yes, dear, I remember. Her voice softened, teasing but matter-of-fact. But you don't look like a boy now, do you? She waved at me. This is what girls your age deal with. We wait to be noticed, to be asked out, hoping we're pretty enough for the right boy. Obviously, Jake thinks you are, or he wouldn't have walked you home. I squirmed in my chair. I wasn't planning to stay home all summer, but I never... Girls your age don't sit at home, Ava. Not for long. You'll get asked out. Maybe by Jake, maybe by someone else. It's up to you what happens, but I doubt you'll spend the summer hiding indoors. That would be terribly boring. My mouth fell open. Are you telling me you want me to date boys? No, dear. I'm saying I knew it was inevitable. Once I saw you as Ava saw you living it, I knew it wouldn't be long. The only question was how soon a boy would notice. I dropped my face into my hands. But what if he wants to kiss me? Mom only smiled knowingly, offering no answers, no rescue. And that silence told me more than words ever could. I was on my own in this now. She told me plainly, do what feels right. If that meant kissing Jake, then kiss him. After all, she added, eyes glinting with calm certainty, you're not marrying him, are you? Her words haunted me that night. I tossed and turned, reluctant to admit even to myself that yes, I had liked it when Jake walked me home, when he spoke to me as if I were any other girl. My lips burned with the phantom press of a kiss that hadn't even happened yet. Dreams carried me off, strange and vivid. Jake leaning close, Jake's mouth on mine, and me not resisting, but opening up to it. The next morning came too soon. I chose a pink skirt, a plain white blouse, and flats. Mom helped brush my hair into place while I took care with my makeup, hands steadier than I expected. Purse in hand, perfume lingering, I stepped out into the sun for my first full day at work as Ava. The store was a whirlwind, customers, counters, smiles I had to learn to return with poise. Two of the bag boys stopped to chat with me, their voices carrying that easy, casual tone boys use when they're circling. Mrs. Baker checked in, told me I was doing fine. Even her son kept his distance, and the day slipped away faster than I thought it could. For a while, I almost believed I had everything under control. And then Jake showed up. "Can I walk you home again?" he asked, like it was the most natural thing in the world. My pulse stumbled. The day before, his attention had rattled me, forced me to see myself in a new way. Now here he was again, proof that yesterday wasn't a fluke. His attraction to me was real. He slipped his hand around mine, warm and firm, and together we walked all the way to my front door. The timing was cruel. Mom opened the door just as we arrived, smiling like she'd seen this coming all along. "Mom, this is Jake. Jake, my mother." They exchanged polite smiles while I struggled to breathe normally. When she went back inside, Jake lingered, still holding my hand. "Want to see a show Saturday night?" he asked, his grin lighting up his whole face. With his hand wrapped around mine, I didn't have the strength or maybe the will to say no. "Yes," I whispered. His grin widened, and only then did he let go. Inside, Mom was sliding dinner onto the table. "Your young man is quite a hunk, Ava," she teased. "He's not my young man, Mother." "Did he ask you out?" How did she always know? I muttered a reluctant, "Yes." "And?" she pressed. "Jake asked me to a show on Saturday." "And you said?" "Yes." Her smile was gentle, approving. "That sounds like fun. Maybe I'll get you an appointment at the salon before then. A trim, a little styling, you'll enjoy it. And Jake will have the prettiest girl in town on his arm." I sat there dazed, the scent of my perfume hanging in the air, nylons brushing against my legs, the weight of breasts on my chest a constant reminder. Mom was treating all of this, me, Ava, Jake, the date, as if it were simply normal. Like it wasn't strange at all that her son had become her daughter, and her daughter was now being courted by boys. It felt like she was nudging me forward, not with pressure, but with acceptance so steady it was almost irresistible. Finally, I asked, "Mom, why are you doing this? I mean..." At first, she said nothing, her face unreadable. Then she sighed and leaned back. "When you were little and played dress-up in my clothes, I thought it was a game. When you begged to be Cinderella at Halloween, I gave in, just to avoid the argument. At 12, I found some of my old things under your bed and shrugged it off. At 14, I found the box full of clothes your size, not mine. That's when I knew. I could have punished you, demanded you stop. But I did my research. Boys like you don't stop, not ever. I had a choice, fight you or help you. If I fought, I'd lose you. If I helped, at least I could make sure you learned to be a girl with grace, not a parody, not a joke." Her voice softened, eyes steady on mine. "Being a woman isn't magic to me, but it is to you. That's why I'm helping. As for dating, I'm not pushing you into it. That's your choice. But I'd be lying if I said I didn't see this coming. Once I saw you as Ava, I knew boys would notice. And they already have." Her words wrapped around me, unsettling and comforting all at once. Because deep down, I knew she was right. It was up to me to decide, Mom said, whether to go with Jake or not. That was her answer, and it was the only one I needed. She hadn't forgotten a thing, Not the costumes, not the box of clothes under my bed, not the way I'd slipped into girlhood even as a child. Dad had silenced us both for years in his own way, but now he was gone, and the silence was broken. Sitting there, fully dressed as Ava, the doubt that had clung to me for so long simply lifted and vanished. Mom didn't want a daughter, she wanted me to be happy. And I wanted to live as a girl, to be accepted that way. Somehow, without ever saying it aloud, we had both gotten what we wanted. A tear traced down Mom's cheek, and I stood, hugging her tight. I kissed her face and whispered, "Thank you." We washed dishes together, side by side, and later I slipped into my only nightgown to watch TV with her. She mentioned, almost casually, that I might look cuter with shorter hair. I nodded, promised to think about it, but inside I bristled. I had grown it long for this very purpose, and now she wanted me to chop it off? Not a chance. Or so I thought. The next day at work flew past, hectic and fast, but the day after was my day off. I had hoped to sleep in. Instead, Mom woke me early and told me to get dressed. We were headed to the salon. I reached for jeans, but she stopped me. "Wear a skirt and blouse," she said. The salon smelled sharp at first, chemicals in the air, but soon it faded into the background. The stylist, Sarah, was gorgeous, maybe 25, with an easy confidence that made me want to trust her. When she asked what I wanted, I told her nothing. She didn't buy it. "You'd look fantastic with this cut," she said, flipping open a book. "That long hair drags you down. It makes you look like a kid. Let me prove it. You can always grow it back." I hesitated, but her certainty was overwhelming. And so, with a few decisive snips, my hair fell away. Sarah shaped it into soft waves at the sides, curls at the back, bangs that framed my face just right. When she spun me toward the mirror, I nearly gasped. I looked not just like a girl, but like a girl who belonged older, polished, radiant. As if that weren't enough, the manicurist painted and shaped my nails until they gleamed. By the time I left, I felt more like a girl than I ever had before. It was a turning point. I stopped fretting over whether I passed. I was Ava now. Jake took me to the show that weekend, and just as I'd feared, and hoped, he kissed me. My nerves jolted, my skin lit up, but when the rush faded, I kissed him back. Again and again. At work, customers began to seek me out by name. Sales climbed. Mrs. Baker raised my wages. I was good at this, better than I ever thought I could be. And when summer waned and school loomed, Mom and I both knew there was no going back. After a few phone calls with our lawyer in the school, the matter was settled. I would return as Ava. I turned 19 a month into the semester. Jake and I had ended things by then, but it wasn't long before another boy, Mark, asked me out. I blended with the girls around me, not because I forced it, but because it came naturally, and because I wanted it more than anything. In time, I began the medication that would help me become, physically, what I already was inside. The war of hiding, of doubting, of stumbling between fear and longing, was over. I had become a girl in every way that mattered. The rest would follow. The hardest part was done. My inner self had claimed its place, and I moved toward the future smiling, unafraid, and finally, fully me.